It's inspiring.
Yeah, but we all
as a
went through,
woman.
yeah, but we all went through that, didn't we? Like, and I'm just playing devil's advocate.
We did,
here.
yeah, we did.
Like, the Queen didn't actually
Yeah.
set the policies in place
No.
or set, we're going to do this in terms of budgets and etc. etc. Like, if you just kind of take it out of it, she didn't actually kind of. She wasn't the decision maker of
No.
this is what we're going to do to help those in living crisis. Marcus Rashford probably did more for school dinners.
Through,
If I
you know, and it's
and I'm not attacking the Queen.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
not attacking the Queen.
No,
but
no,
I'm just
absolutely,
saying,
yeah.
And it's just the point that saying that what people think the monarchy and the royal family were doing versus what they were actually doing is two different kind of things. I personally saw them more active in terms of just visits to Commonwealth nations, building bridges.
But I feel like she's always addressed the nation.
As in more people listen to her than listen to a prime minister. Very rarely would you see a Queen's speech get criticised on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Then Boris.
And I feel like that's her way of getting
Cameron's
everyone
speech.
together, getting families together. Right? So I do feel like she does address the nation and she does get everybody together.
No, of course. But again, reading some more comments, guys,
Yeah.
coming through Twitter as well. Some people saying, look, have some respect. Everyone's opinions are required, but we need to respect everyone's opinions and do it in a good way as well. Some people saying, rest in peace, Lizzie. So obviously Lizzie was something just like that new generation banner is coming through. Some people say, rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth. People should have respect for the dead, even if it's your family member. Some people agree with, saying that, life goes on. These aren't actually kind of impacting us as well. Some people saying, think nothing about the Queen's death, but, got to move on. Some saying, again, have some respect. Some people saying, well said. Some other individuals are saying, if I just say names in as well, is Mr. Khan is saying, despite what you think, just remember someone passed away.
Yeah.
At least respect that. We've got Shaq saying, rest in peace. We've got Gary saying, many people seem to forget that, you lived in her country, worked in her country. She opened the barriers to, allow you guys to come in, at least show some respect and dignity. Who else we got? We got Frankie saying, real stuff. And some people just praising her dress sense.
We touched on her yesterday. That how she loved the colour blue, and she'd always have the.
And she's always synced up. In colours as well. We got who else we got here? We got Vincent saying, rest in peace. We got Jamie saying, UK public mourns her death. Ali saying, have some respect. There's so many messages, and guys, you can head over to our social media channels and just kind of read a lot of the kind of messages and tributes being left by viewers of the channel as well. But
they are very mixed, opinions, and it's divided.
Views, and I think it's with anything, man. Like, you're always gonna have an opinion whether you agreed with something, but on this magnitude, I feel like everyone's become a lot more vocal.
Yeah.
Whether it's your personalities, whether it's your kind of influencers, whether it's you name it, everyone has an opinion, and people's opinions are coming through, and we need to have these discussions as well. Yes, the Queen has passed away.
Yeah.
Yes, Charles is gone, but if we don't have these discussions, who is and who's going to be the voice for British Asians? Because British Asians, need a voice, and I think their opinions should matter as well.
But like our parents who are in the 70s, 80s, grandparents even, that's all they know is the Queen. She's been in the reign for that long. That's all they know.
Of course.
So it will affect them. Like, it's change, isn't it? Now everything's going to change, from banknotes to the anthem. Everything's it's a change.
Yeah,
and do we like change?
Yeah, but for those panicking about banknotes, your banknotes will be still legal tender. The Bank of England had said they'll slowly start rolling the new notes out.
Yeah.
But again, there's no plans at the moment to roll them out, as priority right now is the Queen's funeral.
Yeah, I just wanted to say in central London today, 96 rounds of gun salutes, one for each year of the Queen's life, will be fired in tribute to the late monarch.
There you go. And you're going to see a lot more kind of tributes happening, throughout. And, a lot of Sikh organisations have also kind of shared images of the Queen visiting the Gurdwara as well. And that's not just Sikh organisations, you've got Muslim organisations, Hindu organisations as well, who shared, Queen visiting, a lot of places of worship. And again...
And I do feel like she did have a massive part in all cultures and religions, and she did. Yeah.
Like some would say it might be a token kind of just turning up, etc. But to some people it might be inspiring to see, a member of the royal family coming in and visiting a place of worship. And I think something that people seem to forget is, her visiting a place of worship educates those who are unaware. So her going to a Gurdwara, a lot of British people might be unaware what a Gurdwara is, who the Sikhs are, etc. But by her visiting that place,
it does mean a lot to some people.
People to educate, find out who Sikhs are, and obviously come close to that religion as well, whether it's Hinduism, Islam, Sikhism, etc. But just to come some information that's kind of just come through now. It's so plans for the Queen's laying in state and funeral, which has kind of just been published as well. So, with the Queen dying, ending the longest reign in British history, as you know, she peacefully died surrounded by her family in Balmoral Castle, Scotland. In the days ahead, this is what you can expect for the funeral to be happening. So what's going to happen is after a coffin returns to London, the Queen will then lay in state in Westminster Hall for about 4 days before her funeral, and allowing members of the public to file past. Again, we don't know when the Queen's body is going to make its way to London. They're expecting potentially it to start making transit basically tonight. Probably latest tomorrow as well, but again, there's no kind of confirmations of that as well. But the last member of the royal family to actually lie in state in the hall was actually the Queen Mother in 2002. So those that remember, over 200,000 queued up to view the Queen's body and Queen Mother's body and pay their respects as well. And then what happened is, once the Queen's coffin will be rest on a raised platform, and then what happened is each corner of the platform will be guarded by soldiers, and those will be individuals served from the royal household. She will be brought to Westminster Hall from Buckingham Palace in a slow procession, accompanied by a military parade and members of the royal family as well. People will also be able to watch the procession as it passes through the streets on big screens. Events are likely to be set up across London's Royal Park. So it is going to be like a national event. Yeah. Like in the UK, will come to a standstill for this funeral. And you'll also notice, broadcasting will also kind of change as well. Like a lot of radio stations this morning, it's just, it's not normal upbeat music. It's, it's mourning. The country is in mourning, and for some generations they'll be unaware of what national mourning is. But as you look around, you'll see various things kind of happening. And also, it has been confirmed by the royal family that her coffin will be draped in the royal standard once in Westminster Hall. It'll be topped with an imperial state crown, orb, and sceptre as well. And then after that, the funeral, like you mentioned, will take place in less than 2 weeks' time, and it's going to take place. It's expected to take place at Westminster Abbey, unless any changes do happen as well. And the exact date is yet to be confirmed by Buckingham Palace. The reason why, some guys might be wondering why it's going to take place at the Abbey, is the Abbey is a historic church where Britain's king and queens are crowned, including the Queen's coronation, which she had in 1953, and where she married Prince Philip in 1947 as well. There hasn't been a monarch's funeral service in the Abbey since the 18th century, although the funeral for the Queen Mother was held there in 2002. And again, head states from across the world will be flying in to attend the funeral as well. And with obviously the funeral as well, they're predicting around 2,000 people will be allowed to attend the funeral. Yeah. Those 2,000 people will be obviously hand-selected and select individuals. So that is your world leaders, your family, probably close friends, close associates as well, who will be attending the funeral as well. And then from there, again, information will be kind of given as and when, but then the funeral procession afterwards, because the Abbey will then obviously will head to Windsor, where it'll be kind of the Queen's final resting place. And she'll be laid to rest alongside her husband and her father, which is expected as well. But again, all this is speculative at the moment. Nothing's actually confirmed. You can check out the Royal Family website, various news outlet headlines. We will be sharing news as and when as well. But this morning, obviously, as sun rose, a lot of people were visiting Buckingham Palace already, and last night, thousands of candles were lit as well. But I've just seen, obviously, news has just come in regarding the Dalai Lama. Sharon, if you want to just go through that.
Dalai Lama writes to Charles to express his deep sadness. He said the Dalai Lama has expressed his deep sadness over the death of the Queen in a heartfelt letter to King Charles III. He said, I remember seeing photographs of her coronation in magazines when I was young in Tibet, he told the King. Her reign as Britain's longest-serving monarch represented celebration, inspiration, and reassuring a sense of continuity for so many people alive today. And I think that is so true. Inspiration, and that's a word that I would use as a woman.
I think even for Dalai Lama to kind of come out and say that, it's big on some like platforms, because those that know Dalai Lama, he's a very kind of open and transparent and truthful guy. Like when he met Donald Trump, he didn't hold back.
No.
You know, obviously, views and thoughts regarding Dalai Lama.
And he's
regarding Trump, but now obviously he's written a letter regarding the Queen. Like, he didn't need to do it.
No, and he's also stated, your mother lived a meaningful life with dignity, grace, a strong sense of service, and a warm heart, qualities we should all treasure. And that's quite heartwarming to hear that, because it's
a personal letter from someone of, you know, statures, etc. But again, it's something that, you know, people again who don't know much about the Queen will start looking into the Queen from a Dalai Lama's point of view as well. But again, Naughty Boy, the music producer, he's also shared, you know, his thoughts and prayers for the Queen, giving her, you know, his condolences as well. You know, Harp's score from Apprentice, again, she's also done hers as well. And it's just so many kind of, you know, messages coming and condolences from everyone. You got a lot of kind of Mika Singh, you know, someone that isn't even in the UK. He does shows in the UK, fair enough, but even him, you know, he's shared his messages, and he said, like, you know, deeply saddened by the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the longest serving monarch of the world, a reign of 70 years, end of whenever, may God bless her soul. And that's Mika Singh, you know, an artist that's kind of huge in not just the Punjabi industry, but the Bollywood industry as well.
Yeah. But again, she's impacted the whole world. You know, from America to as far as Australia, she has affected a sad loss in everybody's lives, I think, across the world. Yeah, and
so it's, you know, obviously just a few hours ago, the New Zealand PM shared her message as well. So, you know, the New Zealand PM was awoken by police officers shining a torch of the news of the Queen's death. So obviously, the time difference between Australia and New Zealand at the top point at which news was broken was obviously the early hours. So it just states that, you know, the New Zealand Prime Minister said that she was awoken just before 5 a.m. local time by police officers shining a torch into her bedroom to tell her the news of the Queen's death. The Queen was also New Zealand's monarch and head of state. And the quote literally is on the PM, the last days of the Queen's life captures who she was in so many ways, working until the very end on behalf of the people that she loved. And
I do feel like she was a well-travelled lady.
Yeah.
You know, she was she travelled a lot.
And I think if you watch the show The Crown, okay, yeah, obviously it's not all 100% accurate, etc. But on the show The Crown, you could actually see just how much the Queen travelled.
Yeah, she travelled a lot.
Yeah, her and, you know, her partner. And, you know, I think one of the things of The Crown that people forget is, you know, when she got married at such a young age, she had to step up. So straight away, she was doing these royal visits. She was visiting these countries, and people were putting on praise for her.
Yeah,
you know, say what you want, people would like to perform for her. You know, doesn't matter which country she went to, what people's thoughts are about the British Empire, etc. She did bring people together. She brought communities together.
She did, yeah.
And again, everyone's opinion is valid, but you can't deny what you saw.
No.
You know, nobody forces dancers to go there and force and say, you know, you had to dance, etc., etc. But
she appreciated that, like you said, you know, from her Jubilee.
Yeah.
The parade at the end addressed every nation.
Yeah.
And that's...
But some random facts as well. Again, like I said, there'll be a lot of changes happening and people will notice it. So obviously we did mention about banknotes, how, you know, currently the banknote features the portraits of the Queen. And again, it's featured the Queen's kind of face for over 70 years. So, you know, as far as my life, and I'm sure yours as well.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure, but I'm pretty sure yours. It's had the Queen's face throughout the whole time.
Yeah,
and, you know, banknotes can change. Coins as well. So currently the coins all have, you know, the Queen's face. They're now going to change, and we're having, you know, the King's face. And it will show him facing towards the left as well. Post boxes. Yeah. Not many people think about post boxes as well. But any new post boxes could feature the new King's kind of cipher.
Yeah.
Prior to that, obviously, there was the Queen's stamps. Again, stamps, little things like that. Again, we'll have the new King's face at some stage. Again, it's not confirmed.
It's going to be a big change for everyone.
But also with stamps as well, it's not just the UK stamps that are going to change. It's also stamps across various Commonwealth nations. Yeah. A lot of Commonwealth nations do have stamps of the Queen's face, but that's going to change as well. National Anthem, which we mentioned yesterday as well, that's set to change to God Save the King. And obviously there's a lot of reference to her, and that'll be changed to him and he as well. Passports as well.
Yeah, passports.
You know, obviously a lot of people have seen changes in passports already. You know, it went from red to blue, and now you can see changes again with, you know, reference to the King as well. And then, so that's just some changes that, again, little things that you wouldn't expect.
But I believe the official coronation is going to be next year.
Next year, yeah. So again, you'll see a lot of changes happening between now and then as well. But I just want to kind of talk about Charles. So yesterday, obviously, his mum's passed away, and straight away, he had to issue a statement.
Yeah.
Obviously, whether he wrote a statement or not, obviously, he has a team around him, etc. Right? But it's just the fact that he's expected to leave his mum now and head to London and move on.
And he's going to address the nation later, which is going to be, still mourning.
Yeah. And obviously, it's not like, and the difference between him and his mum, I'd say that, if you've seen The Crown, you can see how young the Queen was. She had to step up, etc. But Charles isn't a kind of a young guy. He's in his 70s.
And I feel like he's always been close to his mum.
Yeah.
He always addressed her as mummy. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a huge loss for him.
Yeah. And I think that's also something like he's been part of her life for so many things. He was part of it when he got married.
Yeah.
He was part of when he had kids. He was part of his life when Diana passed away.
Yeah.
He was part of his life when he got remarried again.
Yeah.
When he had grandkids. So she's been a pivotal part of his life from the very start. Even with
she's always been. I feel like she's always been that pillar of support for him.
Yeah, and even with the controversy regarding Andrew.
Yeah.
What happens to him after she passes away? I don't know, but we'll get to that in a second as well. But she was there as well when all that happened. The Queen kind of held it down, basically.
And even at Prince Harry's wedding, controversial, whatever you want to call it, wedding that they had, but she was there, and she supported him as a grandma would.
Exactly. And I think that was kind of a big moment as well, because a family that's kind of race-wise, it's always been a white family.
Yeah.
And now suddenly a mixed marriage is taking place, and she met with Meghan's mum. There's images there of her and Meghan's mum as well, which is a touching moment as well. Yeah. But I've just seen, obviously, Theresa May has just released a statement as well. Sharon, if you want to jump on that.
Yeah, former Prime Minister Theresa May spoke to the Queen regularly during her premiership. She says the monarch was immensely knowledgeable. She told Sky News officially it was called an audience, but it was conversation, and a conversation with somebody who immensely knowledgeable, who did her red boxes, who read the papers, who knew what was going on, who had tremendous experience over the years of her reign, who knew many of the world leaders. And that's another thing I'd like to say, that she's had 15, in her time of the reign, she had 15 prime ministers.
Yeah.
So she's...
I mean, how many prime ministers you've been alive for?
I can't address that. But 15, and to 70 years, and she's had 15 prime ministers, and I think that's big change for her.
And so just on that as well, so a lot of football clubs, as you may have noticed, have changed their logos to black as well. So, Manchester United were one of the first last night ahead of their game in the Europa Cup as well. But, various clubs across the West Midlands have now also started changing their logos as well. So Wolverhampton Wanderers, they've changed their logo from orange and black to just black and white. Mm-hmm. And they've released a statement saying, we're absolutely saddened by the passing of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II. Our thoughts and sincere condolences are with the royal family, and we join the nation in mourning her loss. Rest in peace, Your Majesty. And they've shared a picture with, the Queen with soldiers. And obviously these soldiers, from my understanding, were those that kind of served in the army and also served Wolves football team during the Second World War as well. West Brom, again, changed their logo as well, and West Brom have also released a statement as well saying West Bromwich Albion Football Club joins the nation in mourning the passing of Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The club extends its condolences to the royal family at this desperately sad time. Our thoughts are with you all, affected by the loss of the monarch of 70 years. Aston Villa, again, another club, changed their logo as well to black and white. Aston Villa Football Club joins the nation and the Commonwealth in mourning the passing of Her Majesty the Queen, and would like to express its deepest condolences to the royal family as well. And they've also shared, an image of the Queen handing Aston Villa the FA Cup. So, the FA Cup, for those that watch football, is one of the grandest finals across the world, watched by millions.
She had a huge part in that as well.
The royal family as well. So even after Queen Elizabeth kind of stepped down away from it, Charles was still there. Yeah. Then obviously Charles's sons, Harry and William, they were an active part of it as well in the trophy ceremony as well. Walsall FC, again, another West Midlands club. Everyone at Walsall Football Club is deeply saddened to learn the passing of Her Majesty the Queen. Our thoughts are with the royal family and their closest to her at this difficult time as well. And again, tributes are just pouring in and in and in from various football clubs.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, Theresa May also said there was often that twinkle in her eye and that magnificent smile that would break out and calmed so many people's nerves and made people feel at ease. And I think that's something she did have this huge smile whenever she was, and she did have that twinkle in her eye, wherever she would go, and she just would dazzle.
You talk about, all these female leaders like, Theresa May, etc. And we talk about, the ones coming out of the UK especially, right? You look at, if you put the Queen on the kind of global map against all these other world leaders, they're all male dominated.
Yeah.
Even with New Zealand kind of getting its Prime Minister, the latest Prime Minister is a female. And, she came in and it was like a massive moment for the people of New Zealand and the world that, a new PM in this country is a female.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been many female leaders at all. You've had some who were absolutely awful.
Yeah.
And, they shouldn't be mentioned at all.
No.
But then you've got some like, the Queen who basically, she stood out amongst, your Americas, your Canadas, your North American states, your South American states, European states as well. And it almost seems like, any kind of world leader that came to the UK, it was you have to visit the Queen first before you go to Downing Street, etc. And I think people, who support the royals, again, understand that as well. But yeah, even footballers, the likes of Harry Kane, etc. They've all been showing their kind of thoughts and tributes to the Queen as well. Harry Kane, England captain and Tottenham striker, hailed the Queen as an amazing inspiration. The Tottenham striker tweeted, "My thoughts are with the royal family at this very difficult time. The Queen was an amazing and inspirational person and we remembered for her incredible years of service to his country. Rest in peace, Your Majesty." Gary Lineker, again, former England football player and also, and the host of Match of the Day, said, such terrible, sad day. Her Majesty the Queen has died, a truly remarkable woman who served the country with dignity, loyalty and grace, a comforting ever present in the lives of most of us. Rest in peace, Your Majesty. And these footballers, even Sterling as well, Chelsea striker, former Manchester City striker, also played for England as well. My deepest condolences to the royal family at this incredibly sad time as well. Jack Grealish, former Aston Villa player, plays for Manchester City now, who's also an England captain international, just said rest in peace, Your Majesty, with a broken heart. Mason Mount, Chelsea footballer, thank you for your service, rest in peace, Your Majesty. Michael Owen, record England goal scorer, former Liverpool and Manchester United striker, rest in peace to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Thank you, ma'am, for lifetime service and dedication.
And absolutely, and I think we need to address that, the service as well. And I think,
like, people forget, as a queen, she was a civil servant.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of forget that.
Yeah. And I think also people kind of forget is, some people would say that, she woke up and did absolutely nothing on a day-to-day basis. She had work to do. She did work. It wasn't just she woke up.
And I think in the last few years, she did slow down her public engagement.
Yeah.
That was due to obviously her health, but she was out there. She would address the nation. She would go to public engagements and people would see her.
Yeah.
And she was active with the nation.
And even like MI6 yesterday, they kind of reported that, they used to always issue her with reports.
Yeah.
So whether her team read it to her or vice versa, she was still in working capacity. Her having to do these state visits, etc., it was part of the parcel and part of the job.
But I also think now she opened her bit of her home, Buckingham Palace, to the public to view.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite big. She wanted, obviously, the public to see part of her home, see what the Buckingham Palace is like, and visit a few of the rooms there, and that's what she wanted to do.
And I think also a key kind of point with that as well, it's not just the fact that she opened doors, it's that if you put it, say, 100 years ago, etc., right, nobody would be allowed to visit Buckingham Palace, nobody allowed to do anything in there.
No.
It was invite only, etc. But as kind of her reign went on and on and on, you started noticing a difference in Buckingham Palace. Like, and I mentioned this yesterday as well, like, I was lucky with, my Bhangra team, VP Bhangra back in the day, and the Dawn Foundation, Johnny Kelsey. And Johnny Kelsey even shared a picture on his Instagram page. So guys, check it out, Johnny Kelsey, former Dawn player for LARP and, currently head of the Dawn Foundation. The Queen put on a 3-day festival where we performed, and she had Bhangra dancers there, she had Dawn players there, she had, other forms of dancers there, and you would never have had that that many years ago. Like, at least we can say, you know, we went to Buckingham Palace, we were there for 3 days. You know, they even catered for us. It wasn't like they gave you like kind of basic English food. They gave us a roti for 3 days. And I can actually say, like, I had roti at Buckingham Palace, because I did.
You did, yeah.
I had it in the garden, right? And then even Jazz Dummy, you know, he performed for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee as well. You had the Bollywood Co. Again, those guys performed there as well. But yeah, it's...
But then I also feel like no matter where you go in the world, you say London and automatically it's Queen.
Queen.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, right? Do you remember the film Cool Runnings?
Yeah.
And there's an iconic scene where one of the guys basically said, one of the bobsleighers, he was like, you know, when I kind of leave this country, I'm going to move here with my wife, etc., etc. And they started laughing at him, and they're like, why? He was like, that's Buckingham Palace. But he's like, what is Buckingham Palace? And he's like, the Queen lives there. So unless you're planning to marry the Queen, you're not gonna move in there, etc. But it just kind of showed just how iconic the building is around the world, that people see it as, you know.
But also how people refer to London, Queen.
Yeah. And that's it. And then just some final quick messages just before we head to breaks. You know, we've got Nicola Adams just saying, you know, I'm deeply saddened to hear the Queen has passed away. I'll never forget how happy I was receiving my MBE from Majesty after I won my gold medal at the London 2012 Olympics. Will Carling saying, you know, it was a huge honour to have met the Queen a number of times. She was such an impressive person. Her reign is a testament to that overpowering respect that the world has for her. What a life, what I think of. And the Premier League as well. So obviously we spoke about Premier League yesterday as well. The Premier League haven't actually made any announcements whether football will be going ahead or not. But the Premier League just tweeted, the Premier League is deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II. Our thoughts and condolences are with the royal family and everyone around the world mourning the loss of Her Majesty as well. And also this is also mirrored by the England and Wales Cricket Board, the ECB. So the England and Wales Cricket Board is deeply saddened to hear of the death of Her Majesty the Queen. Our thoughts of everyone involved in the game. Our thoughts are with everyone involved in the game, and are also with the whole royal family as well. Guys, you're watching British TV. This is a special news coverage this morning of, you know, the Queen's passing as the nation goes into mourning. We've got loads more to talk about. Keep sending your messages in via our social media platforms, and we'll be back after a break.
After a while since I've heard that phrase, he said he was a legend.
Well, it's funny because when John said to me, Paul Byrne, we met somewhere. I don't know where. I said I met that guy because he said that. I bet you're sick of hearing that, aren't you? Probably not.
I haven't heard it, but I have heard it recently because.
Back to British TV this morning. I'm your host Ted Samran, joined by my co-host Sharon Kaur, and today is a special broadcast. If you're just joining us regarding the passing of the Queen, the UK is currently under national mourning, and there will be for the next 12 days. And we're just kind of getting as many kind of views of the British Asian public as we can. So keep sending your messages in via our social media platforms, via our emails as well, info@britasia.tv, and we'll share as much as we can as well. But a lot's kind of gone on since last night. Various tributes have been made. A lot of artists across the Punjabi music industry, Bollywood industry have all paid their respects to the Queen as well. And again, you're watching obviously live.
Kenya.
Yeah.
After the death of her father in 1952.
Yeah.
And he was commissioned into the British Army in the reign of the Queen Victoria, and he died in the reign of Queen Elizabeth. Again, a lot of history with...
The thing with Churchill, and it's a kind of touchy subject as well, because a lot of people who know Churchill, okay, on one side, Churchill did praise Sikhs, and he did kind of talk about, how great the soldiers were, etc. But on the flip side as well, this Churchill was an individual that kind of, disrupted Punjab in the mannerism that he did during, the British's rule over India. He split Punjab, he kind of divided it into two, and he caused more problems and deaths than it was. And a lot of people, and again, a lot of facts were kind of released yesterday, which was, even though, when Churchill kind of was there, the Queen was there, not once did the Queen or Churchill acknowledge the errors they made, the mistakes they made, and there was no ever an official apology or public apology. And whether Charles does that, it's a different thing. I remember Sadiq Khan, London Mayor, when he went to Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar, and he saw it, etc., and he apologised on behalf of, Britain to the people of India and the people of Punjab. But Sadiq Khan is Asian, and that's what people were saying, was like, Sadiq Khan shouldn't be apologising. It should be the monarchy. It should be the actual government in itself, from the Prime Ministers, who should acknowledge it. But a lot of people will criticise it, and you can't deny it. Facts are facts, and history is history, and we need to talk about it. That yes, obviously Churchill's spoken and praised her and is documented, etc. But on the other side, yes, was Churchill a great leader? It's subjective. Did Churchill cause a lot of carnage to, India, to Pakistan, to what's now Bangladesh? Yeah,
but I feel like as we were growing up in childhood, we did hear a lot about Winston Churchill and the Queen, and, as we were growing up, we did speak about the Queen at home, and, it was like she was the Queen, and, we just saw her as the leader and somebody who would listen to speeches at Christmas, and that's all we knew as we were growing up.
Do you think that's because we were all kind of protected and kind of shaded from, like, this is what is life now, as in whatever's happened in the past, as bad as it sounds, like, a lot of families were like, it's happened, you have to move on and deal with the times. But that generation gap has now changed, because this generation now. But
I think it'd be interesting to see if King Charles does that.
I feel like, but do you not think that Charles is still kind of that same mentality of, okay, yes, he married, a divorced individual, which was against, the rules, etc. But at the same time, it's like, well, if you look at, if you look at the history of the royal family, right, prior to the Queen's dad becoming king, it was his brother.
Yeah.
So his brother's dynasty was who should have been king. But obviously, because of who he wanted to marry, it was against, royal standard family guidelines, etc. So then obviously the Queen's dad became king, and then, the Queen's dad upheld it, etc., etc. But it's okay for this Queen and this family to kind of bend the rules, and they don't have to.
But I think as you live, as you get in with the times, you've got to change. But
couldn't the times have been accepted then? Imagine if the king did what he did back then. Do you not think, society and the world would have taken a different route?
But I think there's a lot of things that have happened since then. The world has changed.
I agree the world has changed, but it's just, do you not think it's a bit of hypocrisy amongst the royal family that, this is who the king was, this is what he wanted to do, they couldn't do it, yet the new lineage, they've happily gone and changed the rules as it suits them, as it, as they deal with it as well. Again, I'm not criticising, but I'm just kind of stating the facts. The facts are the facts, and you've got to kind of accept the facts as well. But another thing as well, I think a lot of people and a lot of British Asians, sorry, just some breaking news that's just come in.
Yeah, Prince Harry leaves Balmoral Castle. The Duke of Sussex has reportedly been photographed leaving the Balmoral estate in Aberdeenshire this morning. He is the first senior royal thought to have departed, and he was the last to arrive at the Queen's beloved Scottish holiday home yesterday, and he's left now.
And even Prince Harry, a lot of was said about Meghan Markle not turning up, but also Kate Middleton didn't turn up either. And a lot of people kind of jumped to the defence of Meghan Markle. A lot of media outlets kind of went for her and said that she should be there. Why is she not there? But the fact is, she's got 2 little kids. She's looking after kids, as is Kate. They're saying that they don't want to disrupt the kids' education and have you travel so far. It's like Balmoral Castle isn't just down the road from London. It's up north. And so it's a case of, you can't be one for one rule for another. But unfortunately, that's just the way we live in society. Meghan Markle is a target on her back, and the media will jump on her at any point in time as well. But sorry, just on that as well, I think everyone seems to forget, in this country, when you turn 100, the Queen gave you a birthday card. And it's even on, the Metro website is, for Jasing, legendary runner, inspiration to millions of Punjabis, non-Punjabis, marathon runner. He's there with his birthday card from the Queen when he hit 100, and a lot of up in air, whether it's from any communities, when they hit 100, they got a birthday card from the Queen. Like even my wife's nana, he lived beyond 100, and he got a card from the Queen every year, and it's little things like that. It makes you feel appreciated that maybe you want to live to 100 to get a card from the royals. As it's a milestone in itself as well. But I think, again, we all kind of forget little things like that. Nice, man, when you see him. And it's nice that he's done
It's the King's now turn to take the reins and send those 100 birthday cards out.
That's it. But again, I think one of the things which we spoke about yesterday as well was that the Queen drove herself. A lot of people shared images of her driving her Range Rover. DJ Harps even shared it and shared a picture with the caption, the Queen, you are a real G. But do that. And, how many kind of women driving in her generation was a very, very rare thing. Royals driving themselves was a very, very rare thing.
Apparently she was the only person in Britain who could drive without a licence plate on her car.
There you go. One rule for some, right? That's it. But again, it's just one of those things that, we need to kind of address as well.
I think they are iconic pictures, though, with her little headscarf on and driving a Range Rover. And so they are iconic.
One thing I just saw, and it just reminded me last night, was I saw a really nice picture, and an artist kind of drew it. And it was of a young couple. You couldn't see the front of their faces. It's just they're sitting on a hill, and they just the arms over. The guy's arm is over the woman's shoulder, and all it read was, "It's finally nice to see you again, Lilibet." And Lilibet was the nickname that Prince Albert gave to his wife. And again, you forget that as well. They were married for how many years. That was the nickname that was given to her by close family and friends. And I thought that was a nice moment. Take aside everything else. You forget that she was married.
And that I felt like that's all she. It was she was married. That's all she knew was him. For that long, and then to see her sat on her own in the chapel. I think
that's one of the most striking kind of
I think that image will stick with quite a lot of us.
Because if you say to me, you know, what's one of the most striking images of the Queen,
it'd probably be that one.
It would be one of those Queens of, you know what, that she was there by herself when her husband passed away as well. But also wrestling fans and movie fans, you know, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, he sent a video message to the royal family as well. You know, you can check it out by his social media, but again, it was a very, very touching message that he sent to the royal family. But it shows that, you know, people as big as Hollywood, you know, these WWE wrestlers, they all acknowledge the Queen. And, you know, a lot of them, when they came to UK tours and stuff like that, they did visit Buckingham Palace, they did see the Queen, they did spend time with the Queen as well. And it's something that we all tend to forget as well. But, you know, I think her reach was just, it's just huge. And I think now people are realising just how big and how kind of powerful the Queen was there as well. So just to quote the official Commonwealth's kind of page as well, they finally kind of released a statement as well. And they just said, Her Majesty, the Queen Elizabeth II, head of the Commonwealth, has passed away. We join the royal family and the rest of the Commonwealth in mourning her passing as well. I think one of the hardest things on social media is knowing what to write.
Yeah.
Because obviously you want to kind of, you want to say the message as well, but it's very, very, very kind of difficult. But again, it's something that needs to be said as well. But
I just want to go back to your portraits when you said, you know, you saw artist portrait, and the Queen had sat for over 129 portraits over her lifetime.
There you go, man.
And her first portrait was in 1933 at just age 7.
Yeah.
So she's probably be the most painted woman in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, as well, like, you know, I remember going on school trips and used to go to, like, you know, these royal places and all those portraits, etc. And I think now this next generation is going to literally see that as well. And again, just, you know, I'm just looking at images now of outside Buckingham Palace, but, you know, there's thousands of people just turning up. And it's not just, you know, your English, it's everyone, your British, Asians, Indians, Pakistanis, you know, everyone's there.
A lot of tourists.
Yeah, a lot of tourists as well, you know. And Mark Goldbridge, you know, head of the United Stand sporting channel, says the same as always. He goes, I think sporting events will be postponed this weekend because of the tradition. I get that, but to symbolise the Queen's reign through an ever-changing world, I think they should... Oh, sorry, what he's basically saying is they will be postponed, but he's saying that, you know, the game should go ahead. Yeah. You know, like they all said, the show goes on.
And I think she would have wanted that to go on. She was...
Yeah. As well. I think also, you know, John Motti has also kind of just jumped to a defence of Trevor Sinclair. So I'll bring the tweet up in a moment. But basically, he's made a tweet about the Queen, and people are kind of jumping against it. But again, once I find a tweet, it has been removed. But once I find it, you know, I will let you know, guys, what's said. But again, everyone's going to have an opinion of what the Queen's view, or what she did, what she stood for, etc. Sorry, I'm just kind of reading this. So Trevor Sinclair, you know, former Premier League footballer, made a tweet. It's been deleted, and obviously he works on TalkSport radio as well. And TalkSport have just released a statement saying, you know, we're trying to make contact with Trevor Sinclair following opinions expressed by his Twitter account. TalkSport does not support those views expressed and is investigating the matter as well. So look, and I've kind of said this so many times as well, is everyone's going to have their own views about, you know, the Queen. Everyone's going to have their own views about, you know, whether they're for the royal family, whether they're against the royal family, etc. But, you know, being in this country doesn't necessarily mean, like, you know, you're going to love the Queen and support the Queen and etc. Like, you know, there's a lot of sporting athletes who wouldn't kind of, you know...
But don't you think those kind of comments and any controversy should have been raised when she was here? So how comes, you know, now all of a sudden she's not here and all of these controversial comments come out and, you know, and I think that's people have their opinions?
I think that's a fair point as well, but... And I think it's a very fair point. Like, you know, when someone's alive, no one really says anything. But when someone, you know, passes away, then suddenly everyone wants to jump on the hype now and then call out or criticise, etc. And I think there's a message for everyone. Like, when someone's alive, if you've got an issue, take it on the person there and then. Don't kind of bring it up like after the person's gone and nothing's going to change and nothing's going to matter. Like, you know, you have, like, even like, you know, you see on you know, the side of our screen, you know, the Queen visiting all these different Commonwealth nations, different communities, different backgrounds, etc. But again, it's one of those things of if these communities had an issue, why not say something
Yeah.
during that period of reign rather than afterwards as well? But it's just the way I believe in media works.
It's the way the nation we
It's
are.
just the way it's the way we live in as well. I think everyone has an opinion when it comes to social media.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to have their views on social media.
But then I keep coming back to the same thing. She was still a person. She was a mother, a grandma, a great grandma.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people kind of forget that
We
as
do.
well. I know obviously she had her corgis and her dogs, etc., and we spoke about that yesterday as well. But has there kind of been any kind of mention of the dogs and animals, whether they were travelled?
There has. Yeah.
And I know people be like, "Oh yeah, why is dogs rat?" But animals
she was,
feel it.
yeah, 100%. She was obviously, they were her little family, weren't they? The Queen's love of corgis is well documented, as we know. And over the years, she owned more than 30 dogs.
There you go.
Her first pet name was called Susan.
What, for herself or her dog?
Her dog.
Oh, well, all right.
So yeah, she had over 30 corgis. Yeah.
And I think,
and we always see her passion for her corgis and horses as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Guys, keep sending your messages in via our social media platforms. We'll obviously try and get through as many as we can, obviously, as the day goes on. But if you're just joining us today and wondering why, our scheduling has been changed, it has been changed, obviously because of the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. And obviously, we're giving you guys as much updates as we can, as when we receive as well. But just while we're talking to you, just some more news has just come through.
Yeah, mourning to last until 7 days after the funeral. More details of the arrangements for the days to come will be revealed.
But in terms of like mourning, I think everyone mourns in their own way.
Yeah.
Some people's going to get on with life. Some people will feel it. Some people won't. But for a country, I think. Do you think the world's too far gone in terms of everything has to move on for people to kind of accept mourning, etc.?
Yeah, I think so. I think we need to pay the respects that we need to do, and we, like you said, we mourn in our own way.
Yeah.
Does that mean let's all go and stand outside Buckingham Palace? Probably not. Do we just pay our respects at home and do the 2-minute silence, minute silences, follow all the protocols that we've been told to follow? And I think that should be enough for us to do.
Let me I just have a general question. I'm just kind of reading just kind of people's opinions and thoughts, etc. So, the Queen's passed away. Prince Charles is there. The attitude of Charles might be the same as his mum, but might be a little bit more liberal at certain points, etc. But then you got his eldest son, who's going to be who I believe is kind of more on the same attitude and wavelength as his dad, etc. But he's married to someone who isn't of that kind of royal family. So she's only come to a family lately. Do you know what I mean? So she's going to have a different attitude. So when he becomes king, do you think the royal family and the monarchy is going to change even drastically, even more? And if you look at, for example, his brother, he's completely different. He's more outspoken. He's more out there. Would he have an impact on the way, even though he's not technically part of the family anymore, he's still, to many,
I'd like to think
Harry.
King Charles will, like I said, carry on the legacy, but make his own changes in his own way that won't affect us too much or have an impact on us, shall we say.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, we'll just know the Queen for the Queen, and we're a nation of, we probably don't like change, but there is going to be change, and I think we need to get ready for that change.
Yeah. Even just in the boxing world as well, like you mentioned, obviously Prince and Imran Khan shared their condolences message as well. But rising star, Dylan Jima has also kind of shared his message as well, saying rest in peace, Your Majesty, 96 with a 70-year reign. These are young upcoming athletes who again are touched by the Queen, who feel for the Queen, and again are sharing their condolence messages to the Queen as well. So I've just seen some more.
Yeah, I'd just like to say royal salutes will be fired today in London at 1 p.m. In Hyde Park by the King's Troop, Royal Horse Artillery and the Tower of London.
Let's see, guys,
And one round will be fired for each year of the Queen's life.
Yeah. And just talking about, obviously, Prince Harry leaving Balmoral as well.
Yeah.
So, obviously, those just tuning in as well. So, Prince Harry has actually left. So, he was the last kind of royal to arrive. And he's the first to leave as well. Again, there's no information why he's the first to leave. Speculation is going to be speculation. Media's going to jump on it as well. But, we don't know when people will be leaving, but people will be leaving kind of soon. to kind of leave as and when as well. But if we kind of talk about, just that new generation of say, William's kids, that's a different breed of kids.
Yeah.
They're born in a different generation. They'll be surrounded by, a different upbringing of kids, etc. If we kind of look at the monarchy, say, I don't know, in the next 50 to 60 years. But
yeah, they might be brought up different, but I like to think the principles and the values will remain the same.
But do you think they'll still have the same? Because, the Queen was she held that family together, right?
Yeah.
Her sister's gone, her mum's gone, she's now gone.
Yeah.
There isn't really a kind of head of the family now.
But we don't know the values because we just know the Queen.
Yeah.
So the values and the principles and the beliefs, I'd like to think they would stay the same.
But I'm going to obviously bring up Andrew in this, right? Because obviously a lot of people are going to mention Andrew, etc., what he'd done.
Yeah.
What he's got away with, apparently, the settlements that have happened outside of court, etc. I don't know the ins and outs facts, but, he did wrong, right? He didn't carry himself in the way that, a royal family member should. Yeah. He was caught out multiple times and he kind of put the Queen in the firing line.
Yeah.
That's somebody of that same kind of level as Prince Charles, as Edward, as Anne. And then you've got, if that's just one bad apple, you call it, in that kind of female, then you got the next generation. Now, the only ones in the limelight in that next generation, realistically, are William and Harry. And they're publicly vocal on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Harry's openly talking about things, exposing the family. A lot of
the recent documentaries that they've done.
A lot of cryptic. He's saying a lot of cryptic messages. He's saying stuff about, his mum, about the system, about what happened here, there, etc., etc. And then on the flip side, you got Meghan, who's kind of been in the family for less than a couple of years, and she's coming out with it as well. So straight away, you'd never have this during the initial Queen's reign. Like even when Diana was part of the family. And she left. Yeah. She never actually publicly went out and said X, Y, Z about the family and this, that, and the other. Now suddenly, you've got this kind of shift in momentum in the royal family, which a lot of people probably never thought happened. It's like up in it, right? When stuff happens in the Indian household, they don't publicly talk about it. They keep it in the household. They deal with it in the household, and then if it gets out afterwards, it gets out. But the royal family kind of, I think, have they lost control? Are they not able to control their people anymore? Are they not able to control members of the family? And it's something that,
I feel like they've still got the respect of the nation, and I think we still respect them.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it comes down to principles, values, and the beliefs that they have, that they will carry that down. I know some of them are controversial of how they have been in the past. But I'd like to think that would be carried on all the way through. But like I said, all we know is the Queen.
Yeah.
But obviously, we're born in where we just know the Queen.
Yeah. Guys, for those tuning in, we will be having various kind of artists and also personalities, MPs coming through the doors throughout the day, which we were going live a little bit later on in the day as well, and getting their views and thoughts as well. But just an interesting fact I just saw was, Arsenal FC, so all your Arsenal football fans, just let you know, Arsenal are the only actual football club who have actually ever been invited for tea with the Queen. And Thierry Henry, who was the Arsenal captain back then, he had to introduce the Queen to every player. Again, a massive moment for a lot of these players that they probably won't ever forget as well. But yeah, it's just I'm just kind of looking for all these things that suddenly all these stories are coming out. So it's just Sport Bible have also said Premier League games this weekend are almost certain to be called off as a mark of respect to the Queen. So just because but
I do feel like these tweets and these messages and of condolences, she did mean a lot to everyone.
Yeah,
she did impact people in her own way.
But the other side as well is okay, well, let's talk about the positive. But there is a lot of kind of negatives.
There is,
regarding social media as well, and there's a lot of people kind of openly just attacking the Queen, attacking the royal family. There's a meme of Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, where people saying this is going to be Harry turning up to his grandma's funeral and stuff like that. But is this just the internet and how society has now changed that you can openly criticise and have this dark sense of humour and people move on? And to be honest with you, the family, I doubt the family are going to see it.
But then it comes back to that would they have put that on if she was here? Or look what's going to happen if she passes away, and this is what's going to happen, and this is just so...
Yeah. So just to interrupt Sharon, just on that as well, just kind of some information is coming on what the kind of scheduling for Friday, Saturday is going to be regarding the Queen. So today what's planned as well is King Charles III will make his first speech as England, according to his spokesman. Again, no time has been given for his official statement yet. He's still in the castle as well. He hasn't left. But again, more news as and when it will be given. So if you're watching on the right hand side, you can see live pictures. So you'll see when Charles leaves, if he does leave during this broadcast. At midday, bells will toll and tribute to the Queen at Westminster Abbey, St Paul's Cathedral, and Windsor Castle. And obviously Sharon mentioned as well, gun salutes of 96 rounds to mark each year of the Queen's life will be fired at Hyde Park and elsewhere at 1 p.m. And a remembrance service is due to take place at St Paul's Cathedral in this evening on Friday as well. Again, I don't know if that's public, but if it is public and you are around, do kind of check in and check it out and see what's happening as well. And then on Saturday, it's expected that Charles will be formally proclaimed king, although technically he became king the moment the Queen died, but he'll be sworn in on Saturday officially. The ceremony will take place at St James's Palace in London in front of a ceremonial body called the Accession Council. At the meeting, the death of the Queen will be announced and a traditional proclamation will be read aloud. Charles will then attend a second meeting with the group where he will make his first declarations and sworn an oath to preserve on the Church of Scotland. After this, he will be formally declared as a king. Gun salutes will be fired from all sides around the city. Flags will return to full mast for 24 hours period from 1 o'clock on Saturday to mark that Charles is now the king before they return back to half mast. And while that's going on, Queen Elizabeth will lay rest in St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh as preparations are made for her funeral, which is expected around 10 days. Her coffin will then be flown to London, where hundreds and thousands of people will be allowed to visit her while she lays for rest in 4 days in Westminster Hall. So a lot's going to happen.
And I think it'd be interesting to see how many people do turn out for her, and I think streets will be...
Yeah. And we mentioned it yesterday as well, when the Queen used to drive past, thousands of people would just queue up.
Oh, just to get a glimpse of her, even if it was just a second.
Yeah. And, it's on that level of, was she an active... Sorry, I'm just got some more information coming. So just confirming, so those that follow the English Football League, so matches on Friday have been called off. So any games that are going place tonight, it will not be going ahead tonight. And weekends football is still a decision to be made. But a lot of people are assuming that football this weekend will be cancelled as well. So if you are travelling to the games, etc., do double check because they might not be going ahead based on obviously what's gone on in the world. But sorry, Sharon, you were saying.
No, I was just going to say, also I know you've touched on it, but the palace have confirmed the flags at the royal residence will remain half-mast until 8 a.m. on the morning after the final day of the royal mourning. Yeah. So I think that's going to be across
a lot of places as well. This obviously just going through some messages as well. So thank you to everyone who is sending messages through. Just heading over to obviously TikTok, a lot of people are messaging on the videos that we spoke about earlier as well. So if we kind of just go through some of the messages as well. Someone's also commented on one of the videos saying, this is exactly, she was a queen, she's the only queen that I've known my whole life. So, one of the videos
we've touched on that quite a few times.
Was that people grew up not knowing anything else, but the queen itself was the queen that people know. There's a message of an individual who's quite emotional as well. He's struggling to get his words out, but again, it kind of shows the impact that he had on himself as well. There's one video which we put out, and a lot of people have kind of sent messages regarding is an individual that kind of just said look, the Queen is the Queen, has no impact to us himself. His life moves on. Everyone else has got to move on. He's got to go to work, and there was no kind of acknowledgement from the Queen, etc. But again, it's a subjective. It's subjective because her Christmas statement will always address certain things that's gone on in the year. She'd review the year, and she used to always mention things like Vaisakhi. She's always mentioned things like Diwali. During lockdown, she even mentioned that a lot, she felt sorry for the Sikh
because we couldn't celebrate.
We couldn't celebrate as well. So it's not like she did not acknowledge different communities. Different communities were acknowledged as well.
And I think we do need to take the positives as well.
Yeah. So again, some more comments as well is some people just saying, people just kind of write these negative comments just for some attention. Someone saying, glad to see that, Elizabeth will be reunited with her husband as well. Some people saying, look, just facts. Again, look, everyone has different opinions. Everyone has different viewpoints. Some people will just want to return to normality. Some people believe that, it's going on for too long. Like, we have to move on. But again,
I just want to touch on like my 11-year-old nephew. He put on his little WhatsApp status a picture of the Queen.
Yeah.
And I had to say, would you know who the Queen is? And, what does she mean to you? But he just said, she's the Queen.
And that's it. Like,
that's it.
These guys, like, people won't really see them as... And if you look at kind of a kid...
But I think that's a nice way of the memories the little memories he's got of her. She's the Queen.
Yeah. And I think at schools as well, like, if you look at schools, schools don't teach kids about, as in, if you look at this Queen herself as well, she wasn't involved in necessarily, some of the biggest atrocities in the world.
Yeah.
It was the government, and we've touched on this so many times, that the royal family weren't actually active in making these decisions. It was the government who made these decisions. There was these parliamentary figures, MPs, etc., etc. Margaret Thatcher, one of the biggest culprits of making some of the worst decisions in history. It wasn't the Queen. But again, if you look at kind of some of the messages that are coming through, Disney, one of the biggest organisations out there, they've also released a message as well saying, rest in peace, Your Majesty. They've created a kind of a nice kind of cartoon character as well. But again, it's just a touching moment that even Disney itself, is a massive organisation. And again, it's got, the Queen pictured next to Winnie the Pooh. Again, which many people will see it and kind of feel it on a different level as well.
She's touched so many people's hearts across the world.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then, again, just going for social media as well, UK bodyguards, these are kind of one of the biggest kind of bodyguard guys in the UK who look after some of these big celebrities. They've kind of paid their condolences to the Queen as well. Asiana Wedding Magazine, one of the biggest wedding magazines out there as well. They've kind of paid their tributes to the Queen. Literally everyone from every industry has paid some sort of tribute to the Queen, and I think it's very, very touching on that. And I feel like it just shows the magnitude. I mean, emphasize it. It's the magnitude of so many people from different communities, different backgrounds, different business areas. Doesn't matter where you are. Hate her or love her, you can't ignore her.
No, you can't.
And the fact that she's passed away, it is going to be in everyone's face.
It's historic.
It's a historic moment. It is an end of an era. Like 70 years.
Yeah.
Is not a short time. It's a very, very long time. But guys, you're watching British TV. This is a special broadcast on, the passing of the Queen. We do apologise for the interruption in scheduling. I know some of you guys do watch our partners, Prime Asia, and also our music schedule in the morning as well. But guys, we're back after the breaks. We'll be talking a lot more, getting more views from you guys, and more updates regarding the Queen and her passing.
How do? Absolutely. I've got my dog walking coach. The hat mostly works to keep the hood up.
For a big extended family, and indeed, I go and make
Are you staying with Paul?
Let's bring you and show you those monuments. Also been trying to this historic moment. The Queen Mirror, the Daily Mirror, simply says, "We loved you, man." The Telegraph quotes the Queen's own words: "Grief is the price we pay for love." Our hearts are broken, declares the Daily Mirror. The Guardian has chosen this elegantly written. The Express includes a black and white photograph of the headline, "Our beloved Queen." And the Times focusing on comments by now King Charles III, who has described his mother's passing as the greatest sadness for his life. The leaders from around the world have offered their condolences.
I'm from the Mail on Sunday.
Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Washington.
Right, okay, I'm a journalist too. I know we're all journalists. I can move over, it's like, we're all journalists. I can move over, it's not a problem.
I'm just saying.
Oh, I'm sorry, I won't put it up, it's fine. Just shout if you want through. Would you like me to stand in there? Out of the way? I'm sorry, I didn't realise it was on.
Yeah, it's live all the time.
I'll stay out of your way. I'm not in your view now, am I?
Yeah.
Am I out of it?
Yep, you are now.
Thank you.
Guys, welcome back to British TV for a special broadcast of the passing of Queen Elizabeth II as the UK goes into international and national mourning. My name is Ted Samra. For those just joining, I'm joined by my co-host Sharon Kaur for a special broadcast that we're bringing you today and throughout the day, as well as the weekend as well, touching on the Queen. For those just joining us, we've just covered obviously what's gone on, what's happened, the plan of action for the day. King Charles. I keep saying Prince, but he's actually King now.
Yeah.
King Charles will be addressing the nation. Harry's left, Balmoral Castle as well. And, members of the royal family will be leaving one by one. And Charles will be leaving, the castle as well to address the nation.
Range Rovers arrived at Aberdeen International Airport, led by 5 police motorbikes at around 9:20. So it looks like he will be leaving shortly.
Yeah, perfect. Look, one thing I want to talk about, right, and I think a lot of people have raised this yesterday was the Kohinoor Diamond, and how it should be returned, etc. So for those that just viewing in, right, the Kohinoor Diamond. So what the Kohinoor Diamond is, it's one of the largest cut diamonds in the world. It weighs around 105.6 carats. And it's currently part of the British crown jewel, right? And it's currently set on the Queen's crown, right? So what the biggest kind of controversy behind this Kohinoor Diamond is the Kohinoor Diamond was given to Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Yeah. So it was owned by Maharaja Ranjit Singh. It was part of Maharaja Ranjit Singh's kind of empire. Obviously, when, the East India Company invaded and Maharaja Ranjit Singh passed away, it was taken from Punjab, and it was brought to the UK. So, there's a scene in The Black Prince where Maharani Jind Kaur is there and Dalip Singh is sitting there, and she's looking around and she makes a comment saying that, oh yeah, all this looks very nice, but it was all stolen from our palace. It was all stolen from our palaces, etc., etc. And a lot of people are kind of saying, the Kohinoor Diamond should be returned. Now, so let's just interrupt, right? So if you take kind of a step back, the diamond itself wasn't just stolen as well. A lot of artifacts were stolen, not just of...
Why are you using the statement stolen?
Because they didn't borrow them. Like, you've taken it out of a country, right? And you've literally taken it. It's not yours. Just because you've invaded a country doesn't give you rights to take personal belongings of people. So, the British and, soldiers and whatever you want to call them, right? They took a lot of artifacts belonging to Maharaja Ranjit Singh. They took a lot of stuff belonging to Maharaja Sher Singh. All of Maharaja Ranjit Singh's, kids, everything from, even his generals, like Hari Singh Nalwa, things were taken from his... Things were taken from a lot of things. And, even in one of the museums, there is one of the Sikh Granths in a kind of glass thing. It shouldn't be there, right?
No.
This was all stolen from, Punjab and India. Especially, and a lot more was stolen from other parts of India as well. But I'm just kind of talking about, the Sikh part. Because obviously, a lot of people saying return the Kohinoor Diamond.
But who to?
But this is the thing, So if the diamond was to be returned, where would it go? And how do you get the diamond back? Because if the actual diamond itself was a lot bigger than what's on the actual crown. So where is the rest of that diamond?
But everybody always says, but everyone's always like, give it back to us. Give it, like you said, to who, to where would it go, and who would it go to? So do you think it just should stay where it is?
No, I don't think it should stay here at all. Because at the same time...
But then where is it going to go?
But even at the same time, the whole crown has had jewels stolen from different Commonwealth countries.
Yeah.
There's one which is stolen from one of the African kings. That, my person, should go. But again, we don't know where it should go. Because if you look at it, there is no kind of kings, like monarchy in, India and Punjab, right? There, you have, your kind of religious kind of governing bodies, etc. Does the Kohinoor Diamond go to there?
But why, after all this time, do you think it should be returned? Why wasn't it returned shortly after it was taken?
But a lot of people have been campaigning, though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people have been campaigning for years and years and years, and it's just fallen on deaf ears. Like, the British isn't going to return that. But the one thing that I think people need to also acknowledge and understand and realise is it's not just the Kohinoor Diamond that's here as well. A lot of private collectors have belongings of not just Maharaja Ranjit Singh, not just of, his generals like Hari Singh Nalwa, not just of his kids like Maharaja Sher Singh, etc. But there's also artifacts belonging to, Guru Gobind Singh Ji that are in this country and private collectors have, and that people, again, were stolen from Punjab. There's artifacts that were, stolen from, other Sikh soldiers, and they're in this country. And again, it needs to be returned, and it's never been addressed that, we took all this stuff and it needs to be returned.
But do you think King Charles being in place, do you think that would ever happen now?
I think, it's too far gone. I think, the royal family and the monarchy are going to protect what they have, and they're not going to return what they have. And
so then do you think as a nation and as Punjab, we should accept the fact that it's going to stay here?
No, I think we should continue to fight back for it. I think we should continue to fight for it. Like, it belongs.
But how long can we keep fighting for it?
But the thing is also, is like, where would you put it? Would you put it in, Darbar Sahib? Because obviously, Maharaja Ranjit Singh did a lot for Darbar Sahib, and obviously in Lahore as well was his kind of, his HQ at the point. So does it go there? But
then I feel like there'd be a lot of controversy in India, Punjab regarding the diamond then. Where should it go? Where should it be? Who'd look after it? So then there's another...
A lot of these things do need to be addressed and need to be talked about beyond just saying return the diamond.
Yeah.
And I think, if Charles one day decides to return it, or if, his son decides to return it...
How do you think people would feel about that?
If they did, it would be a massive statement. Because it's like, Sadiq Khan said, he goes, the British, government need to apologise for the atrocities they've done. The monarchy, again, is that monarchy that was their lineage, essentially, who was in charge at the time when these things were happening and never spoke out against it as well. They talk about Maharaja Dalip Singh, how they took him out of Punjab, essentially brainwashed the kid into believing that, he wasn't a Sikh, he wasn't Indian, he wasn't allowed to go back, and that kind of impacted him as well. And I think, I went to Turkey with my wife a few years back, and we were on this boat ride, and there was this... They took us past this kind of like these tombs, and we couldn't go inside it. And basically, and the tour guy said it straight. He was like, these tombs were hand built. So and so was buried here. So and so was buried here, etc., etc. Inside were all these artifacts, these crown jewels, diamonds, etc., etc. Because if you were to go into today, they're empty and they're hollow.
Yeah.
Because if you want to visit them, and he said it straight, he goes, you can go to your museums and see them there in the UK. So it's not just, India and Punjab that were kind of impacted by, stolen jewels and crowns, etc. It's also these other nations like, Turkey and various Middle East countries as well.
But I do feel like we do talk about the jewels a lot. As Punjabis, as Sikhs, as it is a conversation that most people would have.
Yeah, and to be honest, Inquisitive, the artist, big artist, he made a comment yesterday.
Yeah.
I stand by, he said, look, my condolences to someone passing away.
Yeah.
But, had the Queen returned back the Kohinoor Diamond, he'd have a higher respect of it. And I think a lot of people in, England don't actually understand how the crown was formed. The crown before, they invaded all these countries was just a basic crown. It's only as it went to his countries and took his diamonds and stole, and someone saying it was borrowed or whatever, then people would turn around and be like, yeah, all right. But, it's a crown that's been made on, theft, and whatever else you want to call it. But obviously, just kind of moving on, obviously more news is coming in.
Yeah, they're just, like I said, tributes, people that have been leaving candles and messages outside the Buckingham Palace. And one reads, "You were my grandmother's idol, and we are here today because you gave us so much to all of us." And these are all handwritten notes left outside Buckingham Palace. Thank you for every memory. A note from a family says, "Mom, we love you, our mother." So these are the kind of tributes that have been left outside Buckingham Palace.
And you're always going to have, it's like swings and roundabouts, right? Some people will praise the Queen, some people will just avoid the Queen, some people won't say anything, and some people will be vocal about it as well. And I think that's something that we all need to kind of understand as well is, yes, the Queen has passed away, but you don't have to. More in your own way, but necessarily, like, some people are going to be against it, some people will be for it, some people will be against it, some people are going to speak how they want to speak. But sorry, Sharon, just more information just coming as well. So details of the royal mourning has been announced. I know you mentioned it earlier as well, but a period of mourning for the royal family will be observed from now until 7 days after the Queen's funeral, which obviously Sharon, you mentioned earlier as well. The date has obviously not been confirmed yet. A statement has been actually issued by Buckingham Palace, which says, following the death of Her Majesty the Queen, it is in His Majesty the King's wish that a period of royal mourning be observed from now until 7 days after the Queen's funeral. Separate to a national mourning, which the government is expected to outline today, royal mourning is to be observed by members of the royal family, royal household, and representatives of the royal household on official duties, together with troops committed to the ceremonial duties as well. So again, it's something which, again, it's more information is coming in, but it kind of shows how the mourning has just gone from the government required time to now even a longer time as well. And I feel like Charles is maybe saying it because obviously he feels it.
I think when he addresses the nation, we'll get a bit more of a feel of. Yeah.
What are you expecting from his speech? Do you expect it to be emotional? Obviously, the thing
will be very emotional.
The thing with death, right, is obviously when a person reaches a certain age, mentally you're kind of prepared for it, right? That the person is getting old, they're getting frail, fragile. The organs might not be working as well as they are.
But I don't feel he's had a chance to mourn.
Yeah.
Being so, right, you're the king now, right, you need to address the nation, you need to get back to London, and it's been a lot for him, and I think we need to respect that he also needs time to mourn the loss of his mother. But
do you think that's kind of been instilled from him from a young age? Or do you think at the end of the day we forget he's still human? Like, forget this title of king, forget the title of,
exactly.
He's this. At the end of the day, he's still a human.
Yeah. And he still lost his mum, his mother.
Still lost his mum and mother at the end of the day, and I think that's something that a lot of people are going to forget.
And there will be a lot of people that can relate to that, have lost parents and have lost loved ones, so that we do need that time to mourn.
Yeah.
But I think his nation, when he addresses his nation, it's going to be quite warming.
And we also mentioned it as part of the football national anthem as well. It's going to be a kind of culture shock to a lot of people when it suddenly goes from God Save the Queen to God Save our King. And again, it'll take some while getting used to hearing that as well. But if we kind of look at kind of more tweets coming out as well for the Queen, a lot of kind of artists, celebrities, football clubs are kind of still paying their respects as well. So Premier League football clubs, Everton have paid their respect. You got Manchester City who've paid their respects. The players that have paid their respect as well. Tributes are coming in, far and wide. And, the sporting nation is just paying its respect. And it kind of just shows, the sporting nation, even though, the Queen wasn't actively involved in the sporting nation, her presence, whether it was the FA Cup, whether it was horse racing, etc., they were always there in some form of capacity as well. But former Chelsea, Manchester United and Tottenham boss Jose Mourinho has sent a touching message to the UK following the death of the Queen as well. So in a short statement, he's basically just said that the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon, Thursday. The King and Queen concert. So that's the kind of royal family announcement. But what Jose Mourinho has basically just said, I'm so sorry. I'm not a foreigner in England. It's my home, my family. A figure who is respected by everyone in the world disappeared. A great lady as well as a queen. So this is, Jose Mourinho came into the country in the mid 2000s, and he's kind of just said, he's not a foreigner in this country. The way the UK welcomed him, the way everyone welcomed him. But, and Jose Mourinho, he did a lot in English football. He achieved a lot, and he met members of the royal family. And no one's, and obviously he's now in Italy. No one's actually told him that he has to make the statement, etc. But he's made the statement, which is touching. And again, like we mentioned, even from Bhangra artists, Jazzy B, Babu Man, DJ Azza, Steel Bangles, all these people have mentioned, and praised to the Queen. I know I mentioned earlier about Trevor Sinclair. So Trevor Sinclair, for those that know, is a former footballer. He's come under fire this morning for a tweet that he kind of put out, and then he got deleted. He actually works for TalkSport as well, and TalkSport have released a statement saying, they're investigating the matter. They tried to get in touch with Trevor, but they haven't been able to get in touch with him as well. But basically what Trevor's basically said was, racism was outlawed in England in the 60s and has been allowed to thrive. So why should a black and brown mourn? # the Queen. The tweet has now been deleted, and Trevor's account can't be accessed either. So again, I'll just read that once again. So what he's basically said is, racism was outlawed in England in the 60s and has been allowed to thrive. So why should a black and brown mourn? And I think this is it's a very, very big statement to make. Like 100% racism, like what you've kind of seen now is that racism is kind of getting to the forefront, it's getting pushed to the forefront, etc. But I don't think once the royal family were ever kind of behind an agenda to push racism out there. Because what people forget is the royal family sit like here. Yeah. But Parliament and these MPs sit higher than her. In terms of they're the ones who are in the public eye, they're the ones making decisions. So it's your Boris Johnsons who called, Muslim women who wear a hijab letterboxes. It's the government. He's all these Tory MPs who made these outlandish religious statements towards Muslims as well. It's the Tory government who've called Sikhs and called them as extremists to the farmers' protest. It's the Tory government who've made these even these false allegations against Sikhs being extremists. Sikhs should be on this watch list. It's your Priti Patels who signed off these kind of things to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. So people forget the Queen and themselves.
But like you said earlier to me, when I said about she's been through Brexit, COVID, and cost of living, it's not her. It's not her. You kind of said that, but I think she went through that, so that's kind of like what he's saying that it's.
And this is what I think people need to kind of understand also here as well is you're talking about these MPs and politicians who've done probably the worst and said the worst and disrupted communities and defamed communities and done a lot of kind of tarnishing to communities' names and cultures, etc. But the Queen still made these Christmas speeches praising Sikhs. She did during COVID, and the langar they were serving. Yeah, and like you said earlier, she, Vaisakhi, Diwali, she addressed that. Yeah, she addressed that as well. So it's a bit. I think it's a grey area for Trevor Sinclair to kind of come out and say this, and accuse the royal family of being, racism and whatever. But again, if you kind of look back further, people will go back and be like, there is a link between the royal family and the Nazis. There was a marriage that took place between, the royal family and, Germans that kind of was situated in that team, And again, it's not talked about enough. It's always brushed under the carpet.
But do you think they say that's because there is no, obviously Meghan Markle's come in, but before there wasn't a a black or an Asian or a, different religion.
To be honest, if I ever saw a brown person married to a royal family, then you know what, hats off to that person. Because that person will bring so much drama to that royal household. And, it needs to happen. Just you talking about Meghan Markle, just obviously on our screens was Meghan Markle as well. But obviously images that you're seeing, obviously, of the NHS praising, the Queen as well. They've also released a statement as well. And sorry guys, I know I mentioned earlier that St Paul's Cathedral will be having a service this evening, but official statements or wording have actually come out now, which you can actually check out.
A service of prayer and a reflection for the Queen will take place at St Paul's Cathedral tonight at 6 p.m. There will be 2,000 spaces available for members of the public. And we join her family and the nation in the morning. We commend life and work to God that she's done. So
St Paul's Cathedral, guys, if you want to know how to get there, you can go to St Paul's line coach, take you straight there. Cannon Street takes you straight there as well. And also City Thameslink Station, again, walking distance from there as well in London. So
can I just say, anyone wishing to attend must collect a wristband from City Information Centre in Carter Lane Gardens. These will be available from 11 a.m. today. Entry to the service is for wristband holders only. Wristbands are given out one per person on first come first served basis.
So again, guys, if you do want to head down, please do make sure you head down. And again, it's an historic moment to be part of as well.
And I think that says it all as well. To give 2,000 spaces to the members of public, I think that says a lot. That how she was the Queen of our hearts, and she did have a massive impact on the nation and the public.
Of course. And I think that a lot of people do forget that as well. And I think
that's just speaks for itself.
So St Paul's Cathedral, for those that don't know, is a massive, massive cathedral in the heart of, London. And, a lot of kind of big and high profile events do happen there. When it does happen, members of the public can't really access it as well. So for St Paul's Cathedral to be open to the general public now, again, it's a massive, massive moment, and you can be part of as well. British Transport Police, again, they've released a statement as well. They've literally just said it was truly an honour to serve Her Majesty as she carried out her duties. Our thoughts are with the royal family during this time. On behalf of the British Transport Police, we pay tributes to Queen Elizabeth. You got literally just thousands and thousands of messages. The RAF Association, the RAF Association is deeply saddened to learn of the death of our patron. Her Majesty the Queen, her sense and service and strength of character have been an inspiration to all of us, and our thoughts are with the royal family as well. And again, you talk about the army itself. The royal family had a very, very close relationship with the army. Many members of the royal family served in the army. The latest one was obviously Prince Harry. And I remember that interview on ITV where you're sitting mid-interview, the siren kind of goes off, and mid-interview he runs off and gets to duty as well. So, they did serve their country in terms of on the front line as well. Some will argue and say they were protected, etc. But people like Prince Harry, they served on the front line.
Just on Prince Harry, how do you think their life's going to be impacted now with the loss of their beloved grandma?
I feel like, what it is, man? Like, whatever drama he went through, right?
Yeah.
It's like your grandparents are always there. You know what I mean? Like, whatever drama you go through.
No matter what your parents say, you always with your grandparents.
You always with your grandparents to kind of support you through that. So if you look at it from, Meghan's side, obviously her dad doesn't really talk. The mum, obviously, I believe they do have some sort of relationship with them. So on that side, it's like a broken family, right? On this side, obviously, he's lost his mum.
Yeah.
So he's got his dad, who's, I believe, very kind of strict.
Yeah.
Kind of, this is what it is. Again, I could be wrong. I don't live in that household.
No.
But then at the same time, it's like he never once kind of badmouthed the Queen. He always said like he had moments where he still spoke to her, he still texted her, etc. And I remember once he said he had a message or something was sent saying that you can't visit the Queen, and it really kind of broke him.
Yeah.
So I think he still had the relationship with the Queen, and I think that's something that we do kind of forget. Like, I feel like his life is going to change. I feel like, him being excluded from the royal family in the manner that he was.
And I think it will hit him quite hard because I feel like she was his pillar of support.
And I feel like, being live as well. So now he'll probably notice a lot more differences and changes. That's going to kind of
What about William? How do you think he'll be feeling with the loss of his beloved grandma?
To be honest, you don't really know much about, William and his relationship. Like, if you look at the public eye, the younger brother was always more the public eye than the younger one. So I think with, William, he's someone that's going to be kind of staying clear from the public eye. He's someone that's going to, not get not say much unless it's kind of told, because essentially he's now preparing to be the next king.
Yeah.
Right? As
and like you said, to become a king at 73.
Yeah, like, you know,
and then
Charles is aging. Charles isn't getting any younger, right? So you don't know how long Charles has. Does he have 10 years left? Does he have 20 years left, etc.? Or is he going to serve a short period of time and then hand it over to his son so his son can have a longer reign?
Yeah.
But again, I don't think he's going to talk
Do you
much.
think anyone will be as long as the Queen, 70 years?
No. Because if you look at kind of the age itself, like how old is Harry? Not Harry, William. William's probably like 40.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be 70 years. You know, for something like that to happen.
And that my point to that is, it's an achievement, and I think we all need to recognise that and know. And like you said, you don't think anyone would have 70 years in the reign, so I think that's a massive achievement.
Was she 21 or 21 when it happened, and 24 when she actually officially took the reins? So when you're 21, 24 years old, right, you're still figuring out life.
Yeah.
Right, you're still got, like, even Harry was partying and living his best years.
Yeah, and all those pictures of when he was in Miami.
Yeah, but the Queen, literally at that age, had to step up, be the face of a nation, and carry out her royal duties, etc. Kind of says it all. But again,
was it easier back in those days to do that? Because we didn't have social media, and it was just her addressing the nation and being the Queen. Whereas things have changed now.
Yeah, they have changed, but also you can kind of see it also with, like, you know, the brothers, right? Sons. You got Charles on one side.
Yeah.
Who's always been kind of by the book, publicly. Like, as in, whatever happens behind closed door, you don't know what happens behind closed door, right? But you have Charles doing one thing. Then you have, you know, Edward, who's hardly ever been in front of the press, hardly ever spoken.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I feel like we haven't addressed the daughters.
Yeah. And again, even like Andrew, right? You've got Andrew there, who's been in public life for all the wrong reasons. As he was a party guy, he was a troublemaker, etc., etc. You know, and then you got Anne.
I mean, even with himself going through a divorce with, you know. Yeah.
And then you got Anne, right? But again, Anne has hardly ever spoken. She's hardly ever been in a public life.
I feel like she's always been there for her mother. She's always been there.
I think that's something that needs to be addressed, that needs to be spoken about more. And it's, whether it happens or not, I don't know. But it's just one of them ones. But it's just, obviously, while we've just been talking, you know, David Beckham has actually posted a tribute as well. So David Beckham, you know, legendary footballer, played for United, captain of England, has literally just come out and said, "I'm truly saddened to hear the death of Her Majesty the Queen. What an outpouring of love and respect we saw for the Platinum Jubilee for her life of service. How devastated we all feel today shows what she has meant to the people in the country and around the world. How much she inspired us with her leadership, how she comforted us when times were tough, and to her last days she served the country with dignity and grace. This year she would have known how loved she was. My thoughts and prayers are with our royal family." And even David Beckham, you know, he spent a lot of time with him as well. And, you know, there's a radio presenter saying, you know, you don't have to respect Queen Elizabeth for what she's achieved, but you can't ignore her, right?
No.
Like, you know, if we talk about achievements, is, you know,
I think achievements.
Has she achieved anything? And this is genuine.
But I feel like achievements speak for themselves.
No, but what does she actually achieve as Queen? Like, an achievement for me is a milestone, right? Like, you have.
So don't you think 70 years in reign is an achievement?
No, but what does she do in that 70 years as achievements and goals? I go like, and I can't believe that, like, I'm glad I just came. Like, what does she actually do in that 70 years to make the country go forward? Because she's not like, she doesn't make the laws. She doesn't like define the economy. She doesn't kind of. You know what I mean? But
like you said, the government are there and she's there, but kind of like she guides them. And
I feel like if I look at it again, this could be like just lack of education, lack of knowledge. I might have to read it up about it. But realistically, she contributes towards the economy in terms of tourism. Towards Buckingham Palace, Windsor, tourists come there, they buy stuff. You know, these small businesses have actually made, you know, a living off of them, etc. But in terms of actual achievements, in terms of what does she actually do for the country? Apart from, you know, be the face, you know, did she keep, you know, relations with other kind of Commonwealth nations, or is it the actual?
I mean, yeah, I think that's an achievement.
No, but is it actually her who did it, or is it actually the government who actually kept these relations and kept things sweet? And, you know, and they call them, like, you know, allies. You know, during the wars, you know, Britain's allies were, you know, France, etc., etc. You know, was that the Queen who was making these ally relationships, or was it, you know, government bodies doing each other?
But she has, whatever she's achieved in her own way, she has captured all of our hearts.
I wouldn't say everyone's hearts. I think that's a very, very big
okay, most of our hearts then.
No. Yeah. It's a fair point, but I think that's also something that, you know, should be kind of addressed as well. And to be honest, I'm actually going to look into it in a bit to see what's going on there. But even Ravi Singh Khalsa, you know, so what he's basically said is, he hasn't actually tweeted anything. He's so I'm just having a look. Apologies, no. Ravi Singh Khalsa hasn't actually tweeted anything at the moment, but I'm sure he will say something shortly. But I think, you know, a massive kind of point, and I've just seen Ravi Singh Khalsa's page, so why it caught my attention was, you know, the Pakistan floods. So, you know, Khalsa Aid are obviously on the front lines of Pakistan in terms of the floods and the aid relief. So, you know, massive respect to those guys and Ravi and his team for doing what they're doing. But also, you know, Anjum, you know, who's part of the Pakistani Youth Association, you know, he said yesterday that, you know, they are doing a lot for, the Queen did a lot for Pakistan. And, you know, apparently, you know, from his point of view, from what the news they had in Pakistan was, the Queen is the one sending aid to them. The Queen is the one sending support to them, when it wasn't publicly acknowledged that the Queen was the one doing this as well. So I think that's also kind of a massive, massive thing to acknowledge and consider as well. And if you look at kind of, you know, just kind of pictures that are coming in, you can just see, you know, the life of the Queen, achievements. You can see, you know, the flowers, people gathering at Buckingham Palace. There's so much going on. And that, you know, people seem to be, it's going to be like, you know, the next 48, 72 hours, I feel like it's going to be a very, very kind of airy feeling. Yeah,
just Legoland Windsor have just made it located just a couple of miles away from Windsor Castle. It's closed today out of respect for the Queen.
Yeah.
The resort said, we are extremely saddened to hear the passing of Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth. Our thoughts are with all the royal family at this deeply sad time.
But even like that, you know, Lego, you know, something for kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, and like you said, like, you know, your nephew posted a picture of the Queen. So these kids will go there and be like, oh, that is the Queen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's something that, again, for youngsters, whether they look into the history as they get older, etc., it's entirely up to them. But it is what it is, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people are going to appreciate her, people are going to celebrate her, people are going to ignore her. But
I just want to read this. Jane Hartley, the US ambassador to the UK, has told us she's our Queen too.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, you know, the UK, again, it's just, it shows, like, talk about allies and stuff like that. You know, the USA, you know, the you know, White House has, you know, lowered its mask down as well.
Jane Hartley, the US ambassador, has also said the Queen's kindness was exceptional when they met.
Yeah.
So she had an impact on everyone. Sounds like that she came across and met.
Of course.
Yeah.
And just kind of more messages from, obviously, individuals from the Punjabi music industry. So Cali K. West, you know, manager of Diljit Dosanjh, you know, he's kind of paid his condolences to the Queen as well. You know, who else we got? So I'm just trying to go through so many messages that were coming through, because we've been tagged in a lot. You know, Steel Bangles, I mentioned that earlier as well. You know, Ami Burke's paid his respects. You know, the cast of Carry On Jatta, so, you know, you Gippy Garewals, Sonam Bajwas, you know, they're all in the UK, and they were actually shooting at London Bridge yesterday as well. So, you know, the news must have come as a shock to us guys on set, paying their respects to the Queen. But literally, you look at it, it's just so many kind of, and it's surprising. It's not even just your UK kind of Punjabi artists. It's just your artists all over, whether they're from North America, Canada. They're all kind of paying their respects as well. Islam DJs, they paid their respects. You know, it's just so many kind of people paying respects. But guys, you have been watching Brit Asia TV this morning. You know, we'll post updates as and when we get them as well. You know, thank you for tuning in. You know, we've had so many messages. We'll try and get through them as much as we can. We do have various guests coming through as well. So again, we'll get their views, which we'll be sharing with you guys shortly as well. But this is Brit Asia TV, guys. My name is Ted Samra, Sharon Kaur. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.